6:08 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on into your Thursday, July 10th. By the way, you can watch the radio show on YouTube, Facebook, X, 997WTN.com. Our question on YouTube, and it has to do with our topic in this segment. Basically, the question is, Republicans are looking into Joe Biden and, of course, the auto pen and this cover-up with the former president's cognitive ability or lack thereof while he was in office. And Democrats are saying, oh, this is just a waste of time. Republicans have a purpose for all of this. But my question to you on YouTube, it's the Daily Dan poll. You go, you watch, you take the poll, like and subscribe and all that. Is this a waste of time? Because a lot of folks, and I know a lot of conservatives would say that it is a waste of time for the Republicans to try to look into the cognitive abilities of Joe Biden. And so if I could, I don't know, KGB, you're on the phone. I don't know, is something going on that I need to know about? Okay, let's go ahead and do this then. This is, Joan, I don't know if you saw this, but the doctor of Joe Biden, Dr. Kevin O'Connor,
yes,
he decided that he was not going to answer any questions.
Will you make any comments to press, sir?
Do you have a message for the committee?
And he just walked away. He invoked the Fifth Amendment. The AP reported that one of O'Connor's lawyers cited both O'Connor's responsibilities to protect patient privacy as a doctor and the Justice Department's investigation into Joe Biden's use of an auto pen. Mm. So James Comer, of course, because he walked away. The doctor just walked away, Kevin O'Connor. And so Comer comes out, and he's, of course, leading the committee into all of this. And he was trying to question
Will you make any comments to press, sir?
Do you have a message for the committee?
And he had nothing to actually say that. And James Comer basically came out and said, we just asked him a couple of questions. We asked him 2 questions, and he would not answer either one. He pleaded the 5th. Were you ever told to lie about the president's health? And he took the 5th. Did you ever believe that President Biden was unfit for office? And he pleaded the 5th there as well. I mean, crazy. This is the actual audio released by the House Oversight Committee.
On the advice of counsel, I must respectfully decline to answer based on the physician-patient privilege and reliance on my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution. I am not a lawyer, and I must follow my lawyer's advice in this matter.
I mean, there you go. So he pleaded the 5th. Not real surprising. I think that he knows that he might be in some trouble. I mean, I don't know what they could charge him with, though.
How about lying to the American public?
I mean, listen, I would love for this guy. Well, I bet you could charge he and others with some sort of a conspiracy to defraud the American public.
Okay.
Could be something like that.
Yeah.
And by the way, remember, friends, the Fifth Amendment is the privilege against self-incrimination. But it's crazy. Will they actually find anything out from this guy, Dr. Kevin O'Connor? And that is, of course, again, the doctor to Joe Biden. And we all just want to know, who knew what when? Certainly, of course, Biden didn't know anything ever.
The fundamental question is, doctor, what was really going on? We all saw it. The American people saw it. We know what we saw. I mean, everyone understands, even the left that defended him forever now understands that, that he wasn't that President Biden wasn't up to the task. I mean, Jake Tapper, who yelled at people who, if they come on in his show and said something, now has written a book, made money telling us he was fine. Now he's making money telling us he wasn't fine, for goodness sake. So everyone understands what went on.
Right. And so with Joe Biden, and that is, of course, Ohio Representative Jim Jordan, whether it was Joe Biden's crazy stories, like when his uncle was eaten by cannibals, or the constant lies and the misrepresentations and so forth, maybe it was the references to long dead world leaders, or calling out to congresswomen who had been killed months earlier. Remember all this?
Jackie, are you here? Where's Jackie?
I mean, that was rough. That was rough. And so for the American people who were, especially people like you and I, Joan, where we were gaslit for, the better part of 4 years. And it got worse as time went on. The media told us he was fine. The Democrats told us Biden was sharp as a tack, yet there were clearly issues that we all saw. And so now House Oversight, they're looking into two things: the possible cover-up of Joe Biden's mental decline and the use of AutoPen to sign everything, including, of course, all those pardons, including Dr. Anthony Fauci. So the investigation into all of this is continuing. Biden, of course, as you know, almost exclusively used the AutoPen for everything. And really, it seems to me like what they really need to see or figure out is who was running the country, because it does seem like there was an unelected shadow government that was going on. And so I will tell you that a former White House doctor, a Dr. Ronnie Jackson.
Yes.
Have you seen his audio or his video?
No.
He's got something to say about this, and I've got the audio coming up. It is 6:15. Can we go to traffic? We got stuff going on. I don't know what's happening. It's 6:15. Can we go to traffic? On Super Talk 99.7 WTN. As far as your weather for today, a high of 92, scattered thunderstorms as well. Appreciate you listening. Hot and sticky again today, Joan? Is that what it's going to be?
Absolutely. Is it summertime?
It is July in Middle Tennessee.
So it's hot and sticky.
It's hot and sticky.
Yep.
Dr. Ronnie Jackson has something to say about Dr. Kevin O'Connor having nothing to say about Joe Biden, his clear cognitive decline, or the fact that he used AutoPen for everything. And of course, again, Dr. O'Connor is pleading the fifth. But Ronnie Jackson is saying, listen, I used to be a White House doctor. I used to be a White House physician before he turned into a congressman, by the way. And this is what he had to say.
Fortunately, Dr. O'Connor started and continued his testimony by pleading the fifth. Very unusual. You have to ask yourself, why would you plead the fifth if you weren't personally doing something that was illegal or unethical? That's a question that remains, and I think the answer to that question is probably because he was. We won't know exactly yet, but we will find out.
You know, I memo to Dr. Ronnie Jackson. If you're going to do these videos, don't do them in the middle of a field when it's almost dark and the wind is blowing. That's all I'm saying. One thing, because I had to really work on editing this so that the wind wasn't interfering. One thing, though, that O'Connor did invoke, of course, presidential privilege, but Donald Trump relieved him of that presidential privilege. So now the only thing I suppose is left is the doctor-patient privilege.
Doctor-patient privilege, that was looked at by the committee, and we know that HIPAA and the American Medical Association have looked at this issue and said that you can be legally compelled to discuss conversations between a patient and a doctor under the right legal circumstances. This definitely fell into that category. He was being subpoenaed under oath to give testimony before the United States Congress.
Right. Now, Dr. O'Connor, refusing to testify, pleading the fifth, does look guilty as all get out. But remember what Jake Tapper's book said, right? You had Jake Tapper's book, the Wall Street Journal, many other media outlets. New York Times followed as well. That basically, just to summarize all of it, was that Joe Biden was not really cognitively fit to be in office, and there is essentially a shadow government that was running things, unelected bureaucrats. We have all these various reporters now reporting that no, Joe Biden was not fit for office and there was a massive cover-up. So now the question about the AutoPen is a good one. We all know about the health of the president. But what we don't know is this question regarding the AutoPen. That AutoPen signed all those pardons of Anthony Fauci and others. Remember that part of the story. Jim Jordan, he's not holding out hope that we're going to be able to figure much out about the AutoPen. It seems like what he's really trying to do is just, be measured and just know that we have to manage expectations here because...
I do think, though, short of a whistleblower coming forward, it's going to be hard to prove the whole AutoPen thing. Because I think everyone's going to assert that, the chief of staff said he talked to the president and then the chief of staff communicated to so-and-so and then we signed the documents. Unless you have a whistleblower, I think it's going to be tough to prove that.
Yeah, the Associated Press, James Comer, has sought testimony from nearly a dozen former Biden aides as he conducts his investigation, including former White House. By the way, I will tell you, because you folks know, I've been... James Comer and the investigation into Biden, the Biden family finances, influence peddling and all that kind of stuff. Didn't really go anywhere. So that's why I think that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to say, well, this whole thing is a waste of time. Conservatives may say this whole thing is a waste of time. Associated Press, Comer has sought testimony from nearly a dozen former Biden aides as he conducts his investigation, including former White House Chiefs of Staff Ron Klain, Jeff Zients, former senior advisors Mike Zients.
Yeah.
Is that Zients? Okay, Zients. Former senior advisors Mike Donilon, Anita Doon. It's done. I know.
I was going to say it, but I was
waiting to see if you would jump in again. It's Anita Dunn. Former Deputy Chief of Staff Bruce Reed, former counselor to the president Steve Ricchetti. I mean, it goes on and on. I want to see if they're going to call Jill Biden. They've not, as far as I know, they've not called Jill Biden. And maybe what they will say is, what's the point in calling Jill Biden? By the way, Representative Robert Garcia of California, the top Democrat on this oversight committee, says, this whole Republican investigation, it's a waste of time. Here's his quote. Oversight Republicans could be working to lower costs for American families in conducting oversight of President Trump's corruption, but instead are obsessed with the past, he says. Comer says that his committee will release a report of all of its findings after the probe is complete. So I think it is a legit question to ask, which is this a waste of time? I know for certain, and that is the Daily Dan poll. How did we exactly frame the question, KGB?
Yeah, is investigating Joe Biden's mental health a waste of time, yes or no? And 53% say yes to 47% say no. So this is actually one of our closer ones.
Good. Okay. Very good.
Let's keep that streak going for tomorrow.
It's roughly half. So half of you think it is a waste of time. And I guess the point is going to be to what end? Like, okay, so I want to see if there's charges to be brought. I want to see charges brought. I don't know what charges it would be. And I don't know if you have any idea. You know what I'll do? Maybe I'll reach out to Jonathan Fahey. He's a highfalutin attorney. I'll just text him. I won't have him on because he was on yesterday and he's probably tired of me. But I'll ask him what charges could be brought perhaps against the people that covered this whole thing up, because this was absolute coordination. And it's obvious that you did have Joe Biden's doctor, and it is obvious that he lied to the American people when he said that Donald Trump, I should say Joe Biden, was fit for office. It is 6:22 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super text line is open, 615-737-9986. 6:37, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So 4702, we're talking about, just really quickly, then I'm going to move on, but we're talking about the Biden doctor pleading the fifth. And 4702 says, well, he doesn't have any choice. And the reason he doesn't have any choice is because, he'll lose his license and he'll never be able to practice medicine again if he does not plead the fifth. I did send Jonathan Fahey a text, and he says, can the doctor be charged with any kind of a crime? And he said, maybe some conspiracy charges, whatever. He doesn't really know all the details. But one of the things that Jonathan did say was they should immunize the doctor, meaning give him immunity, and hold him in contempt if he still refuses to testify. So I guess that's, part of the question. Okay. So if the doctor gets immunity and he does come in and he does testify, well, then he would ultimately be testifying against, the other people within the Biden administration that were actually running the country. And so maybe those are the people that you go after with some sort of a charge. I don't know. I think that it's a worthy question. Otherwise, then it does beg the question, well, then why exactly are they doing this? If you're not going to charge anybody and they're all going to just, get away with it. I rattled off a whole bunch of names that they're calling people in to testify, Joe Biden's inner circle. Well, if you're not going to go after them with any kind of charges, then ultimately the question is, to what end? I do believe, and it's not an age thing, but I do believe that presidents should be required to take some sort of a, mental cognitive test because and really take a test that is difficult and worthy of the highest office, not only in the land, but also in the world. So we'll continue to cover that story for you. 615-737-9986. By the way, I've got a great piece of audio that I want to play for Joan Jones, but I'm going to save it for after the news at 7 because I want to see Joan Jones. I want to see your head explode, Joan.
Oh, great.
We're going to play Fun with Audio.
Okay.
I'm going to play this piece of audio for Joan, and I want to get your true, raw reaction to it.
Okay.
After the news at 7.
I will brace myself.
On Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right. A couple of other things. Of course, we all know that the Democrats their brand now is violence. That is what they're into. Bill Melugin has been going around with ICE to various American cities to, see just what kind of people ICE is picking up. So he posted, I saw it this morning, where he went with ICE to Omaha, Nebraska. You know who ICE arrested? Not some, mother of four, some poor mother of four working 9 jobs, trying to, get by, which is what the media and the Democrats want you to believe. No. Omaha, Nebraska, they arrested an MS-13 kingpin who is wanted for, get this, 5 aggravated murders. 5 in El Salvador, and is on the country's most wanted fugitives list. Multiple ICE agents tell Fox News. And this was again in Nebraska. ICE also, by the way, arrested another MS-13 cohort, an associate that this dude was living with, 30-year-old Rene Saul Escobar Ochoa, who is also wanted in El Salvador for allegedly giving orders to fellow gang members to commit multiple murders. I'm waiting for them to say Nebraska men have been arrested, right? Isn't that what they would do? Nebraska men, Omaha men. Both men are illegal aliens who had embedded themselves in the Omaha area. Fox is told the kingpin is not being identified due to the sensitivity of an ongoing investigation. Video of both arrests provided courtesy of ICE. You can find that on my X feed. Todd Lyons, the acting ICE director, said in a statement, when ICE agents move in to make an arrest, it is extremely important that the public not interfere. The misinformation and sometimes blatant lies being spread around the country could result in someone stepping into a federal operation and suddenly finding themselves face to face with a killer who has nothing to lose. Our ICE officers and agents are protecting your neighborhoods, even when you don't know the threat is there. So either support them or get out of the way. Now, he's absolutely right. Now, remember, we had that story earlier in the week where ICE also found 2 guys in Indiana. I reported this to you, where these 2 guys were wanted on charges related to murder and strangulation, among other things. And again, now this morning in Omaha, an MS-13 kingpin and his gangland associate. Yet somehow the left believes that it's Donald Trump who is waging war on America.
So they've been trying to tell us Republicans that the invasion is coming from south of the border. It would seem that the invasion into American cities is coming from law enforcement deployed by this administration to terrorize communities. Am I getting that right?
No, you're absolutely right. This president has unleashed a war on our own people and our communities. It is terrorizing our communities.
So it's not the MS-13 gang members. It is Donald Trump that is terrorizing the communities. You know, that notion that Trump is waging war on America is so ridiculous on so many different levels. First off, it was Joe Biden and the Democrats that let these gang members in. That's number one. Then it was Biden and the Democrats who gave them money, gave them places to stay, clothing, food, shelter, all the things, cell phones. Then it was Joe Biden who flew these folks into our country unvetted, untracked, true identities unknown, affiliations with terrorist organizations unknown until we know, and then we have to arrest them. or try to arrest them if the Democrats in the sanctuary cities will let us. So now, in addition to all of these bad hombres, you now also have to deal with these crazed leftists, Antifa, Trans-Tifa. Democrats supporting the violence is part of the storyline this morning, like we saw in Texas on the 4th of July. We've been talking about this all week, where at least 10 people tried to ambush and kill ICE officers.
Let's discuss the incident. It was a planned ambush with the intent to kill ICE corrections officers. Make no mistake, this was not a so-called peaceful protest. It was indeed an ambush.
Yeah, and Donald Trump was asked about that ambush, and he had something, I think it may have broken a little news, actually, yesterday when he was asked about the ambush of those ICE officers in Texas. We'll talk about that straight ahead. 6:45, time to check the roads on WTN. Weather today, high of 92, scattered thunderstorms as well, 72 now on WTN. So Donald Trump asked about all of this yesterday, the weaponry that was used in this attack, this ambush on ICE agents in Texas by Antifa, Trans-Tifa as well. He does bring up a great point about the weapons used in that attack.
So they've been trying to tell us Republicans that the invasion is coming.
Well, that's not the audio bite, actually. But one of the things that the president said, he asked a very legit question, which is, where did this weaponry come from? Because these are 10 people, and they've got these guns. They're all new. They're all, relatively speaking, the president said, brand new. And so how in the world did they get that weaponry? Because guns are expensive. I mean, I know that. Everybody knows that. And they're all brand new. The president asking this question, who is financing these assaults on ICE? I mean, is it George Soros? I don't know who it is. But, a while back, we had that assassination culture the left seems to be embracing, right? We all talked about that, the assassination culture. Remember that insurance executive back when that was shot and killed, and the left seems to dismiss his killing. There was a lot of yeah buts going on, seemingly justifying his killing. And, of course, the president was almost killed a year ago. And so there's all of this violence that is going on these days with you got the rocks being thrown at police, ICE, and law enforcement, et cetera. And the Democrats, they don't really seem to care.
According to Axios, some are even being told they need to be more willing to go out there and get shot when fighting. That was a direct quote, get shot when fighting back against some of Trump's policies. One House Democrat saying, quote, and I'll read it to you, our own base is telling us that what we're doing is not good enough. There needs to be blood to grab the attention of the press and the public. How do you respond to that, Leader Jeffries? Are Democrats not meeting the moment, not doing enough to fight these developments?
Well, we are in a more is more environment in terms of the unprecedented assault on the American way of life and our country that has been launched by Donald Trump and compliant House Republicans.
So did you hear what he said? Hakeem Jeffries, Wolf Blitzer actually asked the question about the Democrats basically being all for, because they're not condemning it, the violence against ICE. And he says, well, let's look at what Donald Trump is doing. I mean, that is just, I don't know why I'm surprised at the brazen nature, not only of this violence that we're seeing, but the brazen nature of the Democrats who are refusing to condemn, refusing to say, yeah, maybe trying to shoot ICE officers is a bad thing. The Democrats aren't doing it. They're not calling them out. It is stunning. It is amazing. I found that audio of Donald Trump talking about the weaponry.
Well, I think you have some very stupid people in the left who have some money that are making it available to these people, because you look at the guns they had, they were brand new. You look at even the clothing they were wearing, it looked like it just came out of some military shop. So you have some very stupid people that if anything ever happened, they'd be the first to go. They don't understand that. They'd be the first to go. They'd be the first ones hit. But there is money being put behind people when you look at the weapons they have, the newness of the weapons, rifles that just came out and they have the latest model. So there's something going on, and we'll get to the bottom of it.
And what do you think the penalty should be for these people who are, if they are found guilty, for people
Very
who
stiff.
shoot at ICE officers?
Very, very stiff. Very stiff. A long time in jail. Well, I think
you send him to Alligator Alcatraz. That's what I'd like to see. Remember the Axios story? We were talking about this earlier. The Axios story about how the base of the Democrats are not happy with how the Democrats are handling Donald Trump, and they want more pushback. They want more violence. They want blood. Remember that whole thing? The Democrats, by the way, not going on record and saying which representatives, which Democrats are making that claim, just that when they talk to their constituents back home, that's what they want. They want blood. I'm thinking out loud here. So just I don't know, go with me for a second. Could the Democrats be saying that their constituents are saying that they want blood? Could the Democrats actually be signaling to the radicals that it is time for them to take more action in the streets? Like a dog whistle, right? Activating the troops, if you will. Because the Democrats, remember, the Axios story, nobody's naming who these Democrats are that are saying, well, my constituents want more violence. My constituents want blood. Well, maybe what's happening, because the Democrats, they're not condoning the violence, right? So maybe that whole thing was almost like a dog whistle, like, hey, Antifa, Trans-Tifa, all you people out there in the street, it is time for you to take more action. And this is our signal to you. I mean, that's what they said all the time about Donald Trump, right? All the time with Donald Trump. It's a dog whistle. It's a dog whistle. Okay, so maybe the Democrats are utilizing dog whistles themselves. 6:52, Joan Jones has the news coming up at 7. Joan.
Yeah, Dan, a horrifying